Today is an easy but important one, ladies and gentlemen. These are my top 5 loadouts that you should have for Warzone, and I'll also be giving a little bit of advice for loadout creation. Also be sure to stick around for the end, I'll have a bonus Season 6 loadout for you. Let's just get right into it. Alright, so my first loadout for you is what I would say is the most important loadout to have, and that's a good assault rifle and an SMG loadout. For this, we're going to be using the M4A1, which I still think is one of the most well-rounded assault rifles in the game. You're going to want the monolithic suppressor, the Corvus Custom Marksman barrel, the VLK 3x optic, which is a great all-around scope, the Commando foregrip for the extra recoil control, although if you want, you can use the Merc for that hipfire control, and finally the 50 round magazine for duos and trios, and the 60 round for quads. You can get away with any size for solos, but I would recommend sticking with something like the 50 round magazine as it helps me in longer engagements. For the SMG, I'd recommend using the MP5, as it's one of the best at handling close range engagements and can even pick some people off at longer ranges. For this MP5, we're going to be using the integral suppressor, the FSS close quarter stock for that faster aim down sight speed, the Merc foregrip, the 45 round magazine, and the stipple grip. This is my go-to loadout for the MP5 and has been the most consistent version for my needs. For this class, I'm also using double time to push engagements and find cover a lot easier, although cold-blooded or EOD are also a viable perk 1 option. Overkill is a given for running these two guns, and amp to get the weapon swap between long range and close range for those engagements. Season 6 has kind of forced my hand and changed my default pick to go from the C4 to a Simtex, so that I can clear top floors of buildings more consistently, though C4 is still a viable option for dealing with vehicles. And finally for this class, I'm running a heartbeat sensor. Loadout number 2 is going to be what I call my last resort loadout. What I mean by this is that if you come back into a game and have nothing, won a late gulag, or got brought back in the final circle, this is a grab-and-go loadout that you can use in any emergency situation. This loadout allows you to get ammo and put yourself right back into the fight. For this, we're using an SMG that you are extremely comfortable with. This could be the MP5, which is my go-to, the MP7, which is solid at long ranges, or an Uzi with the ammo conversion kit. For my loadout, I use the exact same MP5 as the first loadout because it's what I'm most comfortable with. But the secondary is what's key in this build. We're going to use a pistol, and really any pistol works here, but I do like having one that I could use in a pinch, so here I'm using the Renetti. For this version, I have the Desperado Pro Compensator. I'm not really concerned with popping up on the map, as this is a bit of a last resort gun. The MK3 burst mod, the 5mW laser, the 27 round magazine, and finally, the most important part of this build, the fully loaded perk. This works for any pistol, but what this does for you in Warzone is you'll start off with a max SMG and pistol ammo, and this is critical for when you just need a gun dropping back in. For this loadout, we're also going to be using cold-blooded, although you could use double time here, ghost, and amped. I continue using amped here because this works when picking up your second loadout and just needing a class with ghost. For the lethal, I'm using Simtex and the heartbeat sensor for the tactical. Alright, loadout 3. This is where I say you should have a very accurate loadout. Whatever that means for you, this is meant to be for those circles that look like they'll have a lot of open space, or if you know you're going to be camping on a rooftop gunning people at range. For my version of this, I'm using the M13 because it really is a laser beam, or a Kilo or Grau. They'd be perfect in this slot, but they'll all pretty much be the same. For me, I'm using the monolithic suppressor, the longest barrel, in this case the Tempest Marksman, the tac laser, the Commando foregrip, and the 50 or 60 round magazine. You can opt for an optic if you feel like it's a need, and maybe remove the laser, but that's just preference. Our number 2 gun here is going to be a sniper. For this, I'll give you my HDR build, which is great for every circumstance, and I don't think I'll ever change the attachments on this. I'm using the monolithic suppressor, the 26.9 HDR Pro barrel, the tac laser, the FTAC Stalker Scout stock, which offers faster ADS, and the focus perk to reduce flinch. I also opt for the default scope and using the default reticle, which I find really easy to use. It's a little triangle, and you just put the hat on the guy that you want dead, and pull the trigger. For this class, we're also using the Cold-Blooded perk, using Overkill and Amped. A Simtex or a Proximity Mine are good in this slot, and a Heartbeat Sensor. Loadout 4 is my aggressive build, and the goal of this one is to be in people's faces as often as possible. We are using an M4 in slot 1 with the Monolithic Suppressor, the stock M16 Grenadier Barrel, the VLK 3x Optic, the Merc foregrip, and the 60 round magazine. More ammo means more kills. And for the secondary, we want to be as scrubby as possible. So we're using the Origin 12 shotgun, which I know received a nerf, but won't really matter with this version. We're using the Monolithic Suppressor, the 5mW laser for that increased hipfire accuracy, the Merc foregrip, and the 25 round drum mag just to keep shooting, as well as the stipple grip tape, all for that hipfire accuracy. We also use Double Time, Overkill, and Amped for our perks, and a Simtex and Stun Grenade for pushing those buildings. Feel free to replace the shotgun with one that you feel comfortable using as long as it's annoying. It could also have like incendiary rounds. Those are great for this. This 5th loadout is something that I have for you so that you can get out of your comfort zone and try to push away from the norm. We're using an Uzi and Kar 98 build. The beauty of this build is that it offers you the best of close and mid-range, and even allows you to extend a bit into that long range without being completely outgunned. For the Uzi, we're using the Monolithic Suppressor, the TAC Laser, the Merc foregrip, what I would argue is the critical part of this loadout, the .41 AE 32 round magazine. This gun's just not good without this ammo conversion. And finally, the stipple grip tape. And for our Kar 98, we're using the Monolithic Suppressor, the 27.6-inch Sengard custom barrel, the TAC laser, the sniper scope, and the stipple grip tape. You'll also want to have double time to push engagements, Overkill and Amped, a Simtex, and a Heartbeat. Now I want to give you guys a little bit of my thought process in making a loadout. It's pretty simple. You just find a gun that you're really comfortable with, level it up as best as possible, and test it. A lot of guns in this game don't perform as well as others, but if you know where your gun has issues, compensate with your secondary or hold back in those engagements that it would underperform in. If you find that you're just not able to make that gun work for you, that's okay. Some things are just trash in Warzone, even if they're great in multiplayer. If you're new, I highly recommend avoiding the FAMAS, which is called the FR556 in this game, and the VLK Rogue shotgun at all costs. Both guns are severely outclassed by every other gun in the game. As a general rule, the Monolithic Suppressor should be on every gun that you make. A suppressor of any kind is better than none, but the Monolithic is the best attachment in the game. Any info that you can prevent from your opponent is a good thing for you. Also keep in mind that as a general rule, the person with the most ammo tends to win engagements. This isn't an absolute, but could help you in the long run. Never be afraid to try different builds and loadouts. You might just find something that you really enjoy. And finally, I'm going to give you my Season 6 loadout with the new guns. I highly recommend giving it a go, it's a lot of fun. For the ASVAL, I'm using the VLK 200mm OSA barrel, the TAC laser, the VLK 3x optic, the Commando foregrip, and the 30 round magazine. This gun performs really well in solos and duos, although I've had a good time with it in trios and quads. But that low ammo count can really hurt you. And for the single best marksman rifle in the game, the SPR 208. Seriously, use this gun every chance you can. It hits like a brick and is ridiculously accurate even after the nerf. We're using the Monolithic Suppressor, the SPR 26-inch barrel, the TAC laser, the Solo Zero SPR 28mm optic, and finally the 338 Lapua magazine, or the 300 Norma mag, which are completely necessary for this gun. All in all, as a base, you should have some version of these loadouts as your go-tos. Let me know in the comments what your go-to loadout is, and I'll definitely try it out during this season. Also, let me know what you guys think of the new Season 6 guns. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you as always.